that. And I welcome Laurie to our service this morning, and she's going to lead us in the sermon.
Great. Chuck, I have on my order of service the prayer and meditation and the offering. Are you still doing those things?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the reminder.
Okay, well, let me do the prayer and meditation, and then you want to call for the offering?
Sure.
Reminder? Sure. So as we think about all that individuals shared in the joys and concerns, and as Chuck said, those that were unnamed, I invite you into a reflective mode. Close your eyes if you want. Take a big deep breath and settle your body, mind, and spirit. This is number 401 from our hymn book by Frederick Gillis. Spirit of community, in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who are in need of our love and support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, those who are suffering either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, and those who have been wronged. We are a part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care.
Thank you. And this is just a reminder to keep the church community going. We normally in person would take an offering, but we ask that you send your pledges into Kitty when you can. Eventually, we are going to have. I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying Kitty? Alice. I guess I'm nominating Kitty to be our treasurer. No, just kidding. So anyway, we appreciate that, and that helps us keep going. And
thank you.
One more thing, if you need an address, send me a chat and I'll give you my address.
How does that work? If you you can send me an email and I will send you Alice's address.
Well, what I'm saying is I can put it in the chat today.
Oh,
if anybody wants it, just
No,
send one to me and I will respond.
Okay.
Okay. Kelly is going to help me with a responsive reading.
Yes.
This is number 530 from our hymn book. It's called Out of the Stars. So Kelly, how about if I start and you respond?
Sounds good.
Okay. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come, stardust and sunlight, mingling through time and through space.
Out of the stars have we come, up from time. Out of the stars have we come.
Time out of time before time in the vastness of space, earth spun to orbit the sun, earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas.
Earth warmed by sun, lit by sunlight. This is our home. Out of the stars have we come.
Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time, mystery rising from the rocks in the storm and sea.
Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, arose life.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shadows came ferns.
Out of the sea to the land, up from the darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly, out of the sea trembled life.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Life up from the sea, eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love.
Life from the sea, warmed by the sun, washed by the rain, life from within, giving birth, rose to love.
This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth. Life upon earth rose to love.
This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that we live.
Thanks, Kelly. Our second reading this morning is a poem called Remember by Native American poet laureate Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth and how your mother struggled to give you form and strength. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and her mother's and her mother's. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, the trees, the animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of the universe. Remember you are all people and all people are you. Remember you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember. So my sermon this morning is called I Am From. So I was inspired to write this poem sermon because there's a classic teaching format that poets often use, especially with children, as a early poetry writing exercise. And you begin with just the line, I am from, and you start filling it out. So that kind of inspired me to think about doing a sermon this way. I am from my great-grandparents rocking across the Atlantic on a boat from Norway. I am from the sound of the Hardanger fiddle and the syncopated steps of a folk dance called the Hambo. I am from the mountains and fjords, the blooming yellow fields of mustard plants and the buttery taste of lefse. The first time I set foot in my ancestral country, tears poured down my face, knowing this place was somewhere pulsing through my veins, resting in my bones. I am from my parents' untiring love of adventure, Before I was born, they lived in China for 7 years and escaped on the last flight, winging out before the communist takeover. They settled for 20 years on a lake outside of Minneapolis. I am from the waves lapping the shores of Lake Riley, where I learned to swim even before I could walk, where both of my parents' ashes are scattered, and tomorrow my brothers will join them. I am from the luminous green silence of the woods, where I spent hours building forts and collecting wildflowers. I am from a nation that taught me nothing as a school child about the white engineered genocide of Native peoples here, the brutality of the Trail of Tears, the massacre in Mankato, the orders from Washington carried out from Fort Snelling, the children ripped from their homes and forced into re-education schools. I am from a nation that chose not to educate me about the horrors of slavery, and that the economic repercussions still live on every street and every town in America. I am from the small village of Amanave, American Samoa, where my family lived in a hut for a year when I was 11, listening to the roosters crow in the backyard next to the outdoor shower. I am from the 19th century dilapidated orphanage my parents bought in 1968 near Red Wing and spent a year renovating. I am from long days riding through the woods and fields on my horse. I am from the 50-foot sailboat my parents bought when they sold the farm, and we set off on another adventure sailing for 18 months in the Caribbean, where I learned to read the wind and waves and the tides. I am also from the longing for roots, for staying put after a childhood of travel. I am from being the last in line, the 7th of 7 children, always trying to keep up, to be seen and heard amidst the kindly chaos of a large family. I am from the music of my older brothers and sisters, Joan Baez, Phil Oakes, Judy Collins, and the Beatles, and Dylan, that Minnesota native who taught us that the times they are a-changin'. And I am from the same state as Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Judy. Watching The Wizard of Oz was an annual ritual that came in the middle of October, just after all the leaves rustled to the ground. I am from the Presbyterian church of my childhood, with its red carpeting and tall white candles. The hymns reaching for the rafters, and a deep longing that was awakened in me in that place. I am from the echoes down through time of human beings gathering for peace and comfort and community, wondering what it all means, and lighting candles in the dark, scratching images on the sides of caves. I am from the ancient strand of Christians who believe Jesus was human and not divine. I am from the flames that burned Michael Servetus, our 16th century Unitarian martyr, at the stake for stating that the Trinity was not biblically based. I am from our Unitarian heritage, demanding that reason and intelligence have a place at the table of faith. And I am from our Universalist heritage that sang the love of God rather than God's damnation and wrath. I'm also from the bloodstains of the Christian tradition that rode through the Crusades and murdered in the name of Christ, who burned women at the stake and drove out Jews and Muslims. I am from the bold cadence of those who have asked questions and who have refused to recite that which our hearts don't hold true. And somewhere, sometime, but I don't know exactly where, on my father's side, I suspect I am from Judaism. I feel it in the way I reach for candles and hold bread. And before I forget to tell you, I am indeed from my grandmother's and great-grandmother's cotton scraps found in cardboard boxes stacked in attics after they died and passed on to me. I am from finishing the work their hands started, silently teaching me to piece together whatever life handed down into something resembling beauty and purpose. I am from the millions who organized, marched, and voted in record numbers to push us back from the edge of fascism in America. And I am from the same nation that only just barely voted to defend democracy, to get the children out of the cages, and tell white supremacists and Nazis that their actions are not okay. I am from the land of 10,000 lakes where police murder Black people with their knees on necks for the whole world to see. But I'm also from a tribe of people across the world that stood up and cried no and bore witness with outrage in the streets. And each day when I go for a walk, I am from the loon that calls to me from the lake to hear the wonder of creation. I am from the myth of the Pilgrims and the Indians having turkey and cranberry sauce together. The myth that so conveniently left out the gift blankets covered in smallpox. So where am I from? Where are you from? How do we separate what we've been taught about who we are into fact and fiction? What is the saving metaphor? And what is the cover-up of reality? How do we learn the truth about ourselves and each other and those halfway around the globe? Some of our personal, national, and cultural narratives and familial are not necessarily about telling us the truth about where and what we are from. They serve instead to cover the truth with a thin veneer of what serves the interests of those in power. Where we are from is not an easy question, and there are few simple answers. My story, your story, is many layered, like geological formations that have been made from the ancient seas and layered with earthquakes and shifting tectonic plates. I invite you into a minute of silence. And if you have a piece of paper handy, I invite you to take that writing prompt, I am from, and finish the sentence. It can have two different things in it, but it's not a paragraph, it's just a sentence. And when we come back, I'll invite those who would like to share some of where you are from. So let us just take a little bit of silence here. Chuck, if you could equalize me in the screen so that I could see many others, that would be helpful. Okay, so let's figure out how to do this. Remember that, why don't you raise your hand when you're ready, and I will call on you. And remember, you have to unmute yourself, okay? And of course, nobody is required to do this. This is just if you would enjoy contributing to the collage of where we are from. If you're ready, why don't you raise your hand? Alice.
I am from a botanist and a chemist and a family that didn't tease each other very much.
Chuck.
I am from towns called Independence and Mission, which is are interesting terms, I think, and a childhood of a Leave It to Beaver to Wonder Years in terms of television life.
Deb. Unmute yourself, please. Great.
I am from the hills and fields and streams of Alfred, New York, and the ocean and the tropical rainforests of Puerto Rico.
Thank you. Amy.
I am from a city of many dimensions. Segregation and diversity, a liberal bubble, culture and art, innovation and industry, activity and solitude.
Thank you. Megan.
I'm from the mountains and the ocean, and a generation where in my youth I was free to explore without worrying about terrible things happening. More freedom.
Thank you. Amy.
Can I have a second one? I am from a global ancestry, from the Philippines to indigenous Mexico to England, Ireland, and Poland.
Rich ancestry indeed.
There's also a entry in the chat if you look at the chat window.
So Jessica writes, I am from ambassadors, engineers, and farmers, and I was raised in the beautiful hills of Appalachia, where the other was not welcome. Thank you, Jessica. More? Sue.
I am from a family of 14 children, living in inner city Chicago as a child, suburbia as an adult, and in my retirement years, in the wonder of northern Minnesota nature.
Thank you. Yes. I don't know your name. I'm sorry. The guy with the Mike and Michelle. Mike.
From the plains of North Dakota, where the myths and stories I grew up with were filled with both truth and truth to be discovered.
Lovely line. Thank you so much. Is there anyone who's raising their hand that maybe I can't see on the screen? Anyone else? Steve.
Quite done, but I'll try. I am from a physicist father, an artist mother, who moved from Washington, Pennsylvania after World War II to one of two planned communities, Park Forest, Illinois, that was built basically for coming home war veterans and families. It was an idyllic place to live. The schools were planned, shopping center was planned. You could walk to school. We could ride on our streets and our bicycles and walk throughout the whole town. It was very easy to grow up there, but it was a hard lesson for the rest of my life to learn. We had no Black people in our community. It is now 60% Black. It's a very good example of how a community that's built properly and cares for its people can be a very healthy community. It's just as healthy and violence-free as it was when I was a kid. But I'm constantly learning the stories that we weren't taught, as you've mentioned, about the Native Americans and the Black slaves in our country, which we were not appraised of as children. It's a big lesson to learn, but I'm very grateful that I'm learning it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, and in that story too is the Japanese internment camps.
Yeah.
Many, many other stories of groups that were othered and mistreated.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Thank you all for making our mosaic richer with your words. So I think Chuck has recorded a wonderful little piece of himself singing that beautiful little song from our Teal hymn book, Where Do We Come From? Let's all mute ourselves again.
So I will share my screen here and get to the right part of it. So I recorded this yesterday in my little basement studio, or Friday, I guess it was. I'll show a picture to go with there.
Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery.
Make sure that's done. All right. And I believe Laurie has a.
Laurie, you're muted.
Oh,
Thank you. Chuck just sang some of humanity's most eternal and foundational ponderings. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Today and in the days to come, may you feel yourself both anchored, deeply anchored on sacred ground, as well as dancing with your ancestor stars in the night sky. May you know at all times that you belong here in this world and that you are powerfully surrounded by love and life.
may it be so. And you are invited to hang around for our coffee time and further engage in chit chat. So, thank you all for being here.
As we go into coffee hour, do you want to stop recording us? Is that what happens?
Yeah.